Hey Floridians, we're back with your favorite captains and all new fishing reports. For our first species, we're headed to the beaches to look for the rays and offshore for the sharks to target this great eating fish. It might look like a remora and sometimes even a shark. If you haven't guessed it already, we're catching cobias here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Welcome back to the Florida Insider Fishing Report. We're your hosts, Brie Gabrielle and Captain Rick Murphy, and not only are we back for an exciting season ahead, but we are back in style. Look at this brand new studio. It's
what do
beautiful.
You think? You know, Brie, when we were designing this, the one thing I said we gotta have is we gotta have a fishing shack, because every man's got a place that he goes before the weekend to get ready, to rig his boat, rig his tackle. And so you know what? A fishing shack, and we even, well, we'll save what's inside the shack for another show.
There's a lot to explore here on this brand new set. So our first species of the season is Cobia, which our captains have dialed in on. But first we have to say hi and welcome our CCA Workbench guru, Dave Farrell. Looking good over there in your new space, Dave.
I should be looking good. I'm set up now with this very nice bench. Look at this. I don't even know if I want to do anything on it. I'm afraid I'm going to hurt it. I'm going to scratch it.
You're going to scratch it.
But by the time the season's over, it's going to be scratched. It's going to stink. It's going to be all kinds of things.
We got to break it in.
It's going to have gum. Well, it does have cubby space, too, so he will be nice and organized.
I know.
All right, before we introduce our first captain, we just want to say we know everyone out there is dealing with a new norm as the information is constantly changing, and we're all doing the best we can to adapt. But we are here to take everyone's mind off of the situation just for a little while for a little bit of fishing. So stay healthy and please listen to your local authorities. All right, with that being said, Rick, let's escape to the Garmin Panhandle region with Captain Pat Deneen, who's getting us on some of them cobes. Missed you, Pat.
Hey, Brie, it's great to be back, but what's really cool to be back is the springtime cobia fishing. I tell you what, the Florida Panhandle, our anglers they're crazy about cobia fishing. They wait for it all winter long. They schedule their vacations and even their weddings around that mid-March to late April migration. This year, the first fish was a 59-pounder caught St. Patrick's Day by Zach Taylor. He was fishing off the Pensacola Pier. As soon as those water temperatures start pushing into the upper 60s, the cobia begin migrating along our coast east to west. Well, the water temperatures here and the cobia are being seen and caught. And that's the cool thing, they're being seen. It's a sight fishery. It's a hunting for the fish. Once you find the fish, they're usually going to be swimming just off that second bar and then beyond into the color change. But after you find them, you want to cast dingling style jigs. I really like the R&R tackle 1.5 ounce jigs in the chartreuse and pink colors, the bright colors. They got a really good hook on them. But make sure you have live eels, live finfish, basically a variety of baits, because you never know what they're going to really want. You want to use 50 to 60 pound monoliters, but have one rod ready with 20 to 30 pound leader for that finicky fish. And then it's been a few years, but we do have had plenty of 100 plus pound fish caught off of our coast. 30 to 60 pounders are the most common. Last season, the cobia fishing was better than it's been in the past several seasons, and everyone's really optimistic about this year. And there's a really cool photo of Zach with his family. That was this season's first fish. Like I said, it was caught a Pensacola Pier. Note that bright dingling jig in its mouth, and that's what you want to use, those bright jigs.
Great picture, Pat. All right, let's talk a little bit about the triggerfish.
Dude, Rick, the triggers are here, and they're open season, and they're numerous. You're going to find them on the reefs and wrecks, 80 to 200 plus feet of water. The bigger fish are generally coming from those deeper depths. You want to use a 2-hook chicken rig baited with cut squid, cut minnows, or fish bites. A small 1-aught to 3-aught eagle claw laser sharp hook is going to catch way more fish than a bigger hook. The triggerfish are notorious bait sealers. Often they're going to eat your bait as you're dropping down. So drop as fast as you can and don't go all the way to the bottom. Stop about 2/3 of the way down. Triggers can run up to and over 8 pounds. And like I said, they are really, really good eating. But don't just take the fillets. Take the throats. It's kind of like chicken thighs. There's a lot of meat in there, and if you aren't saving the throats, you're missing out. And my wife, Tony, and I, we slipped out this last week on a really pretty day. We caught a whole bunch of triggers to let go because they were short, but we caught a couple keepers. We were using flesh-flavored fish bites for bait, and again, there's one happy angler.
Yeah, it is.
Pretty
I'm
girl.
representing that decal in the back,
Well,
too.
moving inshore, Rick and Bree, I tell you what, throughout the Panhandle, sheepshead are loaded up in the passes. You're going to find them around the jetties and then around the bridges in good numbers. You want to use a Carolina rig or just really a jig head baited with a live shrimp, a fiddler crab, or a shrimp flavored fish bite. Scrape the pilings or chumming with fresh oysters is definitely going to help you get a better sheepshead bite happening behind your boat. The sheeps are running 3 to 6 pounds, but some may be pushing 8. Try to fish when the tide is moving, but not moving too strong. These fish are, grouping up to spawn right now. So just, take what you want to eat and let the rest go. But if you want to just catch a bunch of fish, the Spanish mackerel are here in huge numbers. They're found along the beaches and the inlets throughout the Panhandle. They're numerous from Mexico Beach to Pensacola, so really throughout the whole Panhandle. They're traveling east to west, as are most of the fish this time of year, and they're in good numbers. Troll a Christmas tree rig to just generally find them, or cast jigs and spoons once you find them. To find the fish, look for them flipping on the surface, or look for small white terns dipping on the bait. Spanish mackerel are really good eating fresh, but now is also a great time to stock up on Spanish for this summer's blue water trolling season. Spanish are running 12 to 18 inches.
Thank you so much, Pat. Great report from the Garmin Panhandle region. It's time to take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle. Pat says that inshore, the jetties at Pensacola Pass for sheeps on live fiddler crabs and shrimp, and remember to use small hooks. And then offshore, the trigger fish on natural and artificial bottom. Use 2-hooked rig baits with cut baits or even maybe a piece of fish bites. You know anything about that fish bites, Tommy?
Well, we're going to welcome back our Captain Tommy Derringer reporting from our remote studio in the Alvey Reels Northeast region via FaceTime. Tom and Dee, what's going on?
Hey, Bree. Hey, Rick. Dave. You guys are looking great. New studios looking great there. You know what? I'm stoked to be back for another season of the Florida Insider Fishing Report. And we couldn't be talking about Cobia at a better time, because right around this time of year, anglers start to get crazy for Cobia here in the Alvey Sidecast Reels Northeast region. Now, this time of year, everybody starts to get fired up to get out there and have their chance to sight fish a big cobia off the back of a manta ray. Now, we've had a few kind of slow years for the cobia beach fishing, so we've got our fingers crossed for a good one this year. Now, I have heard of some fish already showing up on some manta rays in the very south end of the region, but guys, let's just keep that between us, okay?
All right.
Now, as the water warms up, the manta rays, they're gonna start to show up better along the beaches with those cobias on their back. Now, we do have a winter and a springtime cobia fishery on the offshore wrecks. And right now the offshore guys, they are catching them in that 80 to about 100 foot range on some of those higher relief structures. Now, we also see quite a few on the nearshore reefs during the summer months. And cobia, a lot of times they're the bycatch of the guys looking for kingfish out there during that time of year. But you know what? The beach cobia fishing, that's what it's all about. That's what everybody gets excited for this time of year. Now, the manta rays, they can be found anywhere from just behind where the waves are breaking to a few miles off the beach. And that magic water temperature seems to be in that 68 to 72 degree range. Now, it's a sight fishing game out there, and you can use all kinds of different baits and lures. A live mullet, a pinfish, or even a big mud minnow. Those are all gonna work well. And just about any kind of large soft plastic swim bait or paddle tail, that's also gonna be a good choice. And of course, the good old white or chartreuse bucktail is always gonna be a favorite. Now, guys, I've got a photo here. This is my good buddy, Captain Chris Herrera from PalmCoastFishing.com with world champion surfer Justin Quintal and their 50-pound cobia they caught off of Jack's Beach last season.
That's pretty cool.
Staying offshore, the better part of our wahoo season, it's just about over. But the offshore guys, they're still catching some nice ones. It's been a great season with some really, really big fish caught. Last month, the guys from Team Out of Line weighed 121-pound fish in that wahoo shootout tournament. And that's going to be a new tournament record. Now, as things warm up, that wahoo bite's probably going to slow down a little bit. But if you can find some clean water near the stream, there's still going to be some fish to be had, especially up in the north end of the region. There's also some nice blackfin tuna, even some good-sized kingfish in that same area. So if you make your way out there, come prepared with the right gear. And I got another photo here. This is our good friend Erin Johnson with a nice wahoo that she caught east of St. Augustine, with her husband Jordan Johnson.
All right,
moving inshore. This is a great time of year to fish for trout in my region. Not only are there good numbers of trout around, but this is when my clients catch some of their biggest trout of the year. With that early morning outgoing tide we have this weekend, the trout are going to be hanging on the edges of the ICW, throughout the region, especially along those banks that have a drop-off with some oyster shells as well. Now, topwater or subsurface plug is going to be my go-to early, and then we're going to switch over to either a Bass Assassin sea shad or a live shrimp on a 1/4 ounce jig head. Big gator trout, you know what? They like to eat big mullet. So if you're looking for that personal best trout, look for those big schools, a bigger mullet. Use a large plug or a large bait like a mullet or a pinfish around those schools. And guys, just remember to release and handle those big fish gently. Make sure they swim off healthy. They're more than likely spawning right now, and we want them to make lots of babies for us. Now moving on to my favorite fish. Of course, we got to talk about the redfish. We have an awesome redfish tide this weekend. With a negative low tide mid-morning, those redfish are going to be bunched up in the creek holes and along the flats on the ICW. I spoke to Captain Buzz Brannon, and he tells me there's some big schools of reds along the banks of the ICW north of the Sisters Creek boat ramp on that lower tide stage. Buzz says the fish are in big schools, but they have been a little spooky on some days. And when they're spooky, he's going to toss a cut blue crab or mullet, especially when they're not going to eat the artificial lures. Now, there's also some nice schools along the ICW and the north end of St. Augustine. Look for those reds to be hanging out where the water last drains from the flats. Now, we've been catching them on Bass Assassin paddle tails and also on live or cut mullet. But my favorite, the topwater redfish bite has really turned on over the last couple of weeks. So if you're out early or late in the day, you probably want to bust out your favorite topwater plug and hit the grass lines around those finger mullet schools. And I've got one last picture here, guys. This is Joe Nelms with a nice upper slot redfish that he caught with me on a Bass Assassin paddle tail in that Mississippi hippie color.
Mississippi hippie. That's a good color for sure, Tommy. We appreciate you guys bringing in the report this week, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at the strike zone hotspots from the Northeast region. Thanks, Tommy.
Bye, Tommy.
Tommy says that we want to go inshore, redfish along the ICW banks, north of Sisters Creek boat ramp on the lower stages of the tide. Look for the concentrations of bait or waking schools of redfish, and then offshore, a mixed bag of wahoos, sailfish, kingfish, and tunas in the north end of the region near the Gulf Stream, Brie.
I'll take any one of those. All right, we're just getting started here on the new and improved Florida Insider Fishing Report, and coming up, we're fishing in the Casa Vieja Southeast region, but first we're checking out Dave's debut at the CCA workbench for Academy Sports Rigs and Techniques.
Yes, I'm debuting, and we're going to be talking about Cobia and how much they like these colorful jigs.
Jigging it.
There's a brown fish who likes really colorful stuff.
Sing it,
We'll be
Brie.
back. Na.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Contender Boats, always in the game. Noble Air Charters, raising the bar yet again. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Sirius XM Marine, weather, fishing info, and channel surfing. And Daiquiri Deck, Sarasota's favorite place to meet.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO offshore outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO offshore.
Why is Casa Vieja Lodge on everyone's bucket list?
Left teaser! Left flat as well, 2 fish! They're everywhere! Right flat teaser as well! Left flat, right flat teaser!
Come to Casa Vieja Lodge and check it off your list.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench,
Yes,
and
sir.
it's time for the Academy Sports and Outdoors Rigs and Techniques. David, your debut, you've been debuting over at this workbench since 2004, my man.
Yeah, I'm coming out party. But anyway, this is, we're talking about cobia, which are one of my favorite fishes to catch. My parents live up in the Panhandle, so when I was a kid, in high school, they moved up there, so I got to go out and experience some of this back in the day when it was really firing off, and I really fell in love with them. As a matter of fact, I've met Pat Deneen on a Sport Fishing Magazine shoot. We were going out and shooting a TV show, and I got the nickname Mullet Killer because we had one live mullet left, and we had this nice cobia swimming up the stream, and I tossed him right perfect, but I guess I threw him too high because he went up high and then hit the water and didn't move a lick. And then I was called the Mullet Killer because you don't want your live bait to go flying high in the air and then smash it into the water and not moving.
It was a foul ball.
Yeah, it didn't work good for me. But, now's the time. Springtime is cobia time. Up where Pat lives, the fish are moving from east to west. And when the water gets 68 degrees, you can see those fish, and that's how they're catching them. They're getting in these little boats, and they're got a nice little ladder on them, or nice tower, and they're up in the tower and they're spotting them. And a lot of times they'll have a guy up there who'll throw a jig or a bait or whatever at the cobia and then pass the rod down to the guy in the cockpit so that he can fight the fish.
Right.
That's how a lot of the charters do that up there. But what they're using mainly, if you're going to be using a jig or something, you're going to be using one of these dingling jigs. They used to be called Helton jigs. It's a guy named Frank Helton used to make a lot of them. He's no longer living, but there's still a lot of jigs out there that look like his. And what you're trying to do when you're using these jigs is you're trying to get the jig out in front of the fish, probably about 3 or 4 feet. And it depends on the jig. If you're using a really heavy jig, like some of these octopus type jigs, you might want to get it out even a little further. And I've got some other jigs up here that have plastic heads that are not as heavy. And sometimes you don't want the thing to sink to the bottom like a rocket. You can use one of these lighter jigs, and it hits the water a lot softer. You can get a little closer to the fish. Usually, if you pop him on the head with it, he's going to spook and go down, and you don't want that to happen. If he follows it down, that's a different thing. He's still going to eat it probably, right. But if you get it too close to him, he's not going to want it. But if you're not going to be using a jig, you can use a lot of live baits. Eels are a great live bait for cobias. Cobias really love eels. That's why when you see a lot of the cobia jigs, we'll put a nice big worm tail on it to make it simulate a eel.
Wiggling.
Yeah, they actually have fake eels, but a Bass Assassin black 10-inch, 11-inch worm works just as good as an eel. It looks like an eel to the fish. They don't know any different. Live mullet is probably your second best bait, and then it goes pinfish, catfishes, squids, whatever you can get a hold of. They will even eat a chunk bait.
So what size hook and what size leader do you like, Dave?
Well, if the fish are really big, you might want to go with 60-pound leader. If you're up in that Destin area and you're catching 50-plus pounders, a lot, you might want to use that. If you're not getting bites on that, you can go down to 40, or even 20, because they don't have, their mouth isn't really that rough. It's just that they fight really hard once they get on. They have that big stout body and a broad tail, so they can really give you the business, and they'll fight pretty hard on you and won't give up until at the very end.
And the hook you like?
Well, I like a lot of circle hooks sometimes, but if I'm using a live bait with an eel or something like that, I'm not planning on letting these fish go usually, and we can see them, and so I know that the fish I'm throwing it at, I'm probably going to keep it if I catch him, so I'll use a J hook, a nice double X strength, usually 4 to 6/0, depending on the size of your bait and the fish that you're targeting. That's. So
do you put a weight on the hook if you're using a live bait like an eel? Obviously, mullet casts far enough,
yeah,
but
exactly.
an eel will throw far enough for you?
No, I usually, because the eels you're using are about this big,
okay.
And you're using a 7-foot spinning rod with like 20 or 30-pound braid, so you should be able to cast them a good ways. I guess if you had a bunch of little eels, you could put a half-ounce split shot about 1.5 feet or 2 feet up in front of the eel.
Yeah,
that would be no problem, and you could still cast it really good. Like I said, you want to use those 7-foot spinning reels, about 20, 30-pound braid. And on the East Coast side, as opposed to over where Patty lives, we have to fish them off rays and other structure. The cobia are very curious fish anyway. When not during the spring, when they're doing their migrations, we catch them on the bottom. We go out on the bottom wrecks and reefs, and we'll fish on the bottom and catch cobia because that's where they live most of the year. We only see them
around the structure.
Yeah, we only see them in the springtime when they're making their spawning migrations. And that's why we can see them. And then when they get up on those rays and the bull sharks down south, that's, up close to the beach, that's when we can really get our eyeballs on them and start picking the ones we want to catch. Now, up where I live in the Cape, this past weekend, we went out and I caught a nice, not a big cobia, almost keeper on a turtle. We catch a lot of cobias this time of year in 30 to 60 feet of water on anything floating. We're targeting the rays. We're looking for the rays because that's where it's where a lot of the meat is. But a lot of times we'll find them on turtles or just a bucket floating out there. The buoy line, they'll be swimming around the buoys, because they're very curious fish. And a lot of times when the guys will get up on a reef or something, back in the day, they would rev their motors up, rev, and here would come the brown clown, And that's why everybody in Florida always has a jig on a spinning rod, either for a dolphin or the cobia that swims up to the boat when you're out there fishing.
Good job.
So.
I appreciate it.
No worries, mate.
Way to start us off, right, Brie?
Yep, you always got to be ready for them cobes or dolphin. All right, well, let's take what we've learned over there since it's been a while and use it in the Casa Vieja Southeast region with Captain Jimbo Thomas. Hey, Jimbo, welcome back.
Hey, Brie. Hey, Rick and Dave. Hey, it's great to be back talking about fish again. Well, let's talk about some cobias. Now, cobias are very rarely a fish that we can target here in the Southeast region. Most of them are just an incidental catch, and it's just a matter of being at the right place at the right time. Now, we do encounter them year-round, but November through May is when we see the most of them. And those cobias are notorious for hanging around channel markers and buoys, and sometimes you can see them or spot them swimming right up on the surface. And then we also find them following sea turtles, especially leatherbacks, stingrays, whale sharks, and big bull sharks, and also on some of the deeper water and shallow water wrecks. Now, they're usually not too picky about what they eat. Some of the more popular baits are live pinfish, grunts, and crabs, but just about any good live bait will work. Also, a jig with a plastic tail and surface lures, those will work when you have no live bait aboard. Now, typical cobia tackle for us aboard the Thomas Flyer is a 20-pound spinner. We like to use 50-pound mono leader or fluoro leader and a 6.0 to 7.0 Eagle Claw Trocar circle hook. Now, the few incidental cobia that we have been catching lately or that I've heard about catching have been on the deep line out in the middle of nowhere, and you never know when one might pop up on the kite as well. And the average size of these cobias nowadays is in the 25 to 30-pound range, but larger ones are not uncommon. Now, I do have a couple photos here. First one is Captain Skip Dana with a beautiful 50-pound cobia caught aboard the Fish City Pride. And then I got another photo here, and this is me, yours truly, with a pair of 25-pound cobia that we caught last weekend off Fowey Light on the deep line.
Nice.
Staying offshore.
Go ahead, Jimbo.
Hey, right place at the right time. Now, sailfish, they've been fairly consistent, especially when the water conditions are right. And those right conditions are blue water and north current. And from one day to the next, you can have green water or blue water, north current, south current. So you never know till you get out there. If you don't have those conditions, you might want to run north or south or do some social networking up and down the coast, see where the water conditions are the best. Now, the sails, they've been coming through anywhere from 80 to 300 feet of water, and most of the bites are coming from live herring and goggle eyes fished off the kite. Now, if you don't have enough wind for the kite or if you just don't have one, you should be able to get bites slow trolling or drifting those live baits. And in the last week or so, it seems like the late afternoon bite has definitely been the best. Now, moving inshore, the tarpon fishing has been good in most of the inlets and their adjacent beaches, but it's been excellent around the lit bridges of the ICW. Now, the best bite's going to be in the early mornings and late afternoons and evenings on both the incoming and outgoing tides, just so long as you got moving water. Now, the bait of choice right now is a big live shrimp, but if you don't have any shrimp, a live mullet, pinfish, or crab will work. And you want to drift those baits using a 6.0 to 7.0 laser sharp circle hook and an 80-pound mono or fluoro leader. Also, if you're fishing out around the inlets, look for fish rolling or marks on the fish finder on both the north and south sides of the inlets. And the boat traffic's typically a lot lighter if you get out of those channels. And the fish have been in the 60 to 100-pound range. Well, inshore, again, We got bonefish, and the Oceanside Flats of Biscayne Bay has seen some really good bonefish catches in the last few days, especially since we've had this really nice weather. Now, the best fishing has been on hard bottom flats with good moving water. Look for lively flats with signs of life, such as crabs, sea urchins, stingrays, and sharks. They're all up there feeding on the same stuff. And these bonefish, they've been most active in the mornings and then late into the afternoons. The best areas have been from Soldiers Key south to Angelfish Creek, and it's best fishing on the top of the incoming tide. Use a live shrimp, small live crabs, or fly tackle.
Thank you so much, Jimbo. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the R&R tackle hotspots from the Casa Vieja Southeast region. Jimbo says fish a live shrimp along any of the lit bridges throughout the entire region for tarpon in 50 to 80 pound range. And then offshore, fish live baits or drift under a kite in 100 to 250 feet of water for a mixed bag of sailfish, blackfin tunas, kingfish, and occasional mahi.
And throw in some social networking in there too, right?
Social networking.
Social networking. All right,
Does he know about social networking?
Nope.
Jane.
All right, the reports are on fire so far, and if you're fishing in the Bell's Central East or Discover Crystal River Northwest region, stick around. We'll be right back here on the Florida Insider
Fishing Report.
Oh, I almost got you.
Almost.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control, Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventure. Garmin, join the club. Kubota, find a Kubota dealer near you at gokubota.com. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
I'm Captain Rick Murphy, and I'm a life member of CCA. Why am I so involved with CCA, you ask? Because I want our fisheries to be in better shape for my kids and their kids. CCA is working to ensure the future of recreational fisheries and the rights of recreational anglers. The future of fishing starts today with you. How do you want to leave things with your kids? If you're like me, you'll want to make the right choice and go to joinccaflorida.com right now.
Real Legends Performance Clothing. Everything you need to be comfortable on the water all day long. Keeps you cool, dry, and protected from the sun. Durable performance technology at an unbeatable value. Shop anytime or go to reallegends.com to find a Bell store near you. Navigating at night can be dangerous, even for the most experienced drivers. With over 400,000 pixels, Night Track makes it possible to navigate in the dark with confidence. Night Track seamlessly interfaces with all multifunction displays, 2013 or newer, and offers boaters or the outdoorsman peace of mind at an affordable price. For more information, call 251-605-9100.
Welcome back, everyone. So we've been very busy during the off season, and our adventures have been uploaded to our YouTube page, Captain Rick Murphy. So let's take a look at what our crew and captains have been up to, shall we?
We should.
how about them apples? I
How
mean,
about
fish.
it? You know,
Saw a lot of
Brie,
cameos in there.
yeah, but you know, we haven't been messing around in
No,
off season. We've been
no
building
way.
sets, we've been building YouTube channels,
Yes.
and we've been building
Relationships.
a lot of videos for you guys to watch. So
Yeah.
we hope that you'll go and check it out, subscribe.
Yes, well, to see all of that and more, as well as fun behind-the-scenes videos, tips, and how-tos, make sure to subscribe to the Captain Rick Murphy YouTube channel. And you know what, Rick? This next captain we're about to introduce was just on there. We caught a big black drum with Captain Jim Ross in the Bells Central East region. How you doing, Jim?
Doing fantastic tonight, Brie and Rick. I tell you, we had some adverse conditions to try and fish in that day, too. But it was a lot of fun getting you out on the water and trying to chase those black drum around.
Yes,
But
it
I'll
was.
tell you what, right now, the black drum are just one of the species we're going to talk about in just a minute, because we need to talk about the cobia, because right now the cobia are still in the region. They're trying to pass on through. That water temperature's getting warm with all of this south wind that we've had. But right now, anytime that the water is from the upper 60s to about the mid-70s range, you can find them. Here lately, we've had a lot of the manta rays actually moving very, very close to the shore. In fact, sometimes it's just almost right in the breakers. That seems to be where they're feeding. And the cobia are often there with them, so don't overlook, you want a lot of guys out in that 35, 45, 55 foot depth. Don't overlook those fish that may be right there on the beach. In fact, I was going out of the port just the other day, and there was one actually inside the port on a tide line. So there's some nice fish out there. You know, we throw live baits at them, that's obvious. But jigs and topwaters and things like that really, really make the cobia, come out for those rays, run over there, jump on that lure, and get them away from that ray. Now, here's one of the things that's really cool about cobia fishing on rays. It's like adding a hunting element to your fishing element. So for guys that like to do both, this is one of the best type of fishing that you can do. And we have that opportunity right now. So don't wait. Get out there. If not, you're going to have to run up to Tommy's region to find some cobia. Now, I've got a picture of one here that we just recently caught. And, there's some pretty good ones out there. Some of them are a little bigger, some of them are a little smaller. And it changes from day to day. They get out there and get it done.
Hey, Jimmy, your phone's a little muffled, so I don't know if it's a case or whatever, but let's move it around just a little and see if we can talk about the king mackerel offshore.
Sounds good to me, Rick.
Perfect,
Sounds good to
perfect.
Me. 70 to 90 feet is where you're going to find the majority of the fish. However, if you're looking for bigger fish, slide on into that 50 to about 65 foot depth throughout the region. The bigger fish seem to be holding inside. And live baits are definitely working much better than frozen baits when you're looking for those bigger fish. Put those on a 2-hook wire stinger rig, and or a strip bait sea-witch combo. Those can work as well. And anglers can get out there and find a good number of fish on an average day. Now, here's one of the fun ways to go out and catch kingfish. I like to take an R&R tackle, one of their Upperman model jigs in about a 1-ounce size, and put a strip on it, like a pogey strip or even a fish bite strip. Make a nice long tail of 5-6 inches on that thing, and then jig it erratically up and down over the top of the schools of fish that are on top of the structure. Most of that structure is reef, but sometimes you can do it on wrecks as well. And that Upperman jig from R&R really sinks fast, and it has a real erratic fall. So it's one of those really cool baits. It's been around forever, but a lot of guys overlook it. And put a short piece of wire on the front of it. Otherwise, you're going to get some cutoffs. Now, swinging inshore, Rick, the black drum in the Mosquito Lagoon and the Indian River have been pretty darn good. And in fact, they've become our new redfish over the past year or two, because we just have lost a lot of habitat. But now we're starting to get some habitat back. And those fish are actually moving around and getting out on the flats where we can sight cast them on a daily basis. Now, they're not as easy to hook as a redfish is, but, that challenge creates some unique opportunities for anglers that are trying to sight fish on the flats, especially in the Mosquito Lagoon. Shrimp, sand fleas, little pieces of cut crab, and fish bites are really, really good options to throw on a little jig head. And our average drum right now is running about 8 to 12 pounds. But we do have fish up into the 40-pound class that are also, not too uncommon. Now, swinging a little further inshore, we've got baby tarpon. And a lot of the creeks that were really holding a lot of those tarpon, we were doing really good in them, especially like Turkey Creek and Plain Creek and some of those creeks. Really, really good action going on in there. But we haven't had a lot of rain lately, and so with that, you need to find areas where the glass minnows are concentrated. For small soft plastics, and that Bass Assassin Panfish series seems to be one that's really good right now. Put it on a 1/16 ounce jig head, and you should get bites most of the morning. right till about 9 a.m. Then pretty much the tarpon kind of quit for a little while. That's when you go look for those drum and redfish that we were talking about a little earlier. Now, most of our baby tarpon are about 1 to 8 pounds in those little creeks, and I've got a nice photo here of one of those baby tarpon that we recently caught in one of the Merritt Island canals.
Oh.
All right, thank you so much, Jimmy. Looking good. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the Rodan hotspots from the East region. Jimmy says that we're gonna go ahead and look for the black drums on the flats of the Mosquito Lagoon. Use cut crab, shrimp, and sand fleas for fish up to 30 pounds. Whoa, those are big. And then offshore, Cobia is following the manta rays. Look for the fish in the midday to afternoon periods when you can see them best because of the high sun. Cast live baits or bright colored jigs for those cobias.
All right, Ricky, the Discover Crystal River Northwest region has been bubbling with action, and here to give it to you straight is Captain Jeff Hageman. How's it feel to be back, Hag?
It feels great to be back. I miss you guys.
We miss you too.
We miss you too, man.
Well, our cobia this time of year have started moving mostly offshore. We do have a few around still on the flats. I did catch one today that was in around and fish piling. Big thing with cobia, they're usually hanging out in groups, keep an extra rod ready. So usually follow the other fish up and you can get 2 fish on pretty quick. But our best time to target cobia is usually the winter months. In and around Tampa Bay, you can find them around the channel markers, the cans and the shipping channels. In the wintertime, they actually gather up really good in our power plants, and they get on the back of stingrays and turtles and anything big that's moving around. So even manatees they'll get on the back of. But 10-inch artificial eel, either in black or a mossback rigged with 3/4 to a 1/2 ounce hookup jig head works great. A pinfish tail hook under a cork with a real short leader, 2 feet, is really hard to beat and really hard for a cobia to turn down. And my favorite is a tail hook jumbo shrimp on a jig head. That's probably one of my favorite for sight fishing for them.
Whoa.
Staying offshore, the red grouper bite has been really good right now in that 80 to 120 foot of water over that flat Swiss cheese limestone bottom. Knocker rigs and standard bottom rigs with 8 to 6 ounces of lead and 7 to 9 ounce circle hook, depending on the size bait you're using. Frozen sardines and squids are both working well, but a live pinfish is hard to beat. And I got a photo here of Todd Sherwood on a recent trip we just took out. Nice fire truck there.
That's a nice one, Hag. Before you go inshore, I got a question about that tail hook shrimp. When you guys take that shrimp, what do? Do you bite the tail off or do you leave the tail hooked?
Always bite the tail off, gives it a little more scent. And it seems to work better behind that jig head. It doesn't flutter wrong when it's rigged. You just bite it off and thread it through upside down so that shrimp runs right. And those big jumbos, especially with that hookup jig head, you pitch it out in front of it, it falls just perfect. Cobia follows down to the bottom and eats it because they're usually, when they're following those manta rays around and stingrays on the flats, they're looking for mantis shrimp. You can't usually catch them, so the big jumbo is hard to beat.
All right, well, I'm learning today. All right, so let's go inshore.
Captain Jimmy Huddleston at CaptainHud.com out of Arizona reports a solid snook bite right now in and around the rivers and creek mouths and spoil islands of St. Joseph Sound. Fishing the incoming tide with a nose hook jumbo sardines for best result. Snook right now are averaging anywhere from 25 to 32 inches. And he's free lining baits using 25-pound fluorocarbon leader rigged on a 2/0 circle hook. With the water being as clear as it is the last few weeks, that downsizing your tackle will really help a lot. Staying inshore, but going all the way up to the northern part of my region, Captain John Lane with JB Charters at Apalachicola reports good bull redfish right now. They're mainly hanging around the passes and on the outside of the beach. He's using a peeled shrimp, using a standard knocker rig or a Carolina rig. And he's using anywhere from a 2/0 to a 3/0 offset circle hook with a 1/2 ounce to 3/4 ounces of lead and about 18 to 12 inches of fluorocarbon leader. Moving down the coast, Captain Mario Costello of Tall Taylor Charters is fishing out of the Plantation Inn. He reports a good redfish bite right now around the Mangrove Islands and Keys from Yankeetown to Crystal River. He's specifically looking for big schools of redfish. Locating the mullet has been helping him find the redfish. He's using select shrimp on an 1/8 ounce jig head in the middle of the incoming tide. The fishing area, his area has been running anywhere from 25 to 32 inches. Moving down the coast a little bit, back to Captain Jimmy Huddleston. of CaptainHud.com out of Ozona. His redfish are still spooling around the mullet too and hanging around the mangrove shorelines on high water. He's using cut ladyfish or pinfish pinned down to the bottom with a heavy split shot and putting them as close to the tree line as possible to draw them out and get those reds' attention. They're tucked back deep in the mangrove shoreline. And Captain Mike Anderson of Real Animals out of St. Pete is finding more of the same of that. So from about Tarpon Springs past all the way to St. Pete, it's been pretty much the same thing. On that high water, look for those fish getting under the bushes, and they'll be around the mullet. And I've got a photo here of Captain Jimmy Huddleston with a nice Ozona redfish.
All right,
Pretty one right there.
beautiful tannic-colored water redfish for sure. Thanks for the pictures this week, Hag, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Alta equipment hotspots from the Northwest region. He says redfish, the bite is on the top of the tide. You're going to want to look for them schooling fish, and then the live baits with eagle claw circle hooks have been really working well, and then Spanish mackerels on the near shore wrecks are hard bottom to look for the birds, and the bait fish use spoons and live baits for a chum bag, right, Brie?
So you didn't know about the jumbo shrimp trick? Come on.
But you know what? The thing is, I don't bite the tail off because the shrimp don't like it too much.
No?
Nope.
Nope.
It hurts.
You don't pinch it up?
And they don't last as long. But that's
Okay.
an old bone fisherman's trick. That's
all right,
all.
well, we're fishing for cobia here.
I know.
All right.
So I'm
You
learning.
think the reports have been good so far? Just wait, there's more. More from the Startron Central West region to be exact. But first, we're seeing what new products Dave has tracked down over the past few months. Show us what you got.
Well, I'm going to try to do this without cutting my finger off. We got these new
no.
knives.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh,
I
my
think I
gosh,
just
that
ripped
was
that
so
one.
close.
Look at that.
Okay, Dave. That's not a knife.
It's a
we'll be back.
knife.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there. Ameritrail. Load. Launch. Relax. Real Legends. Exclusively at Bell's. Okuma. Inspired Fishing. Discover Crystal River, Florida. And Maverick Boat Group. Makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
At the pinnacle of super high output, four-stroke outboard performance, you'll find Yamaha VMAX SHO, Yamaha's game-changing SHO technology. From exhilarating V6 models to the sleek inline fours, there's a VMAX SHO for everything from bass to bonefish. It's an extended family of four-strokes engineered for lightweight, inspiring performance, and rock-solid reliability. Discover VMAX SHO and elevate your expectations.
How do you aim a 36-yard shot with a 30-yard fixed pin at a 15-degree angle with a 7-inch holdover without moving a single pin? Easy. You get one of these. Zero, the auto-ranging digital bow sight from Garmin.
Deep within Key Largo, you'll see things that may surprise you. From the unspoiled wilderness of the Florida Everglades to the tranquility of John Pennekamp State Park, look below the surface and you'll find more depth in Key Largo in the Florida Keys.
CCA Workbench is where it all happens over here with Dave Farrell. And as you guys know, we talk about new products every year. And this week we're talking about 4 new ones as we speak,
I
right,
kept
Dave?
all my fingers on that list.
Yeah, I don't know how you did. But
It was spooky. Anyway, we're going to first talk about that AFTCO knife that I was flinging around there. I wouldn't advise anybody to do that. But this is a nice beautiful knife. That's the 12-inch version. They make several. That's made out of Boker German steel, 4116 stainless steel, high quality stainless. It's got a 56 to 58 Rockwell hardness, which means it's really hard steel. That upswept design, when you're cutting fish with it, it allows you to keep in contact the whole way through. It's really a limber knife for how thick it is. It's got the AFTCO gold treatment on there to keep it from get corrosion on it, and it's got a really nice handle. It's got the ergonomic handle that's made out of the polypropylene, so you can hang on to it when it's wet. Also comes with that nice sheath that goes in there.
Yeah.
So AFTCO makes great stuff, and their fillet knives, of course, are great as well.
And Dave, what is this?
Well, that's the bill collector. It's the Jaw Lures bill collector, and what it is, it's a teaser and a lure at the same time. You got your little 6-inch skirt in the front, and then you got a 7-inch skirt in the front, and then a 12-inch skirt in the back. So you got it. It's called the bill collector, and a billfish might come up and see the bigger one chasing the little one. Dolphin might come and eat that. Yeah, there's a hook in there too. So you can get a dolphin on there, a big marlin come up and eat the other one, or vice versa. Either way, marlin will eat a little thing too. Anyway, it's got Mustad 3407 stainless heel hooks, XL bubble, big bubbles on that head there, 300-pound leader. And 2 skirts are better than one.
You know what else it's got?
What's that?
It's got a new home in Homestead.
Yeah, okay, you can have it. I'll let you have that one.
I got a new 35 Contender. I got to have toys for
Yes,
Dave.
you do. Yes, you do. Next, we got the Edison Comfort Grip, and this is a great little product. Everybody has a place on their boat where they need a handhold, and this really makes a good gripping surface. They come in 12-inch versions and 8-inch versions. They got the sticky stuff on the back. You peel them off, and you can put them on any handrail that fits from 1 to 1 1/4 inches. So on your swim platforms, bow rails, tillers, T-tops, wherever you want to put one of those things.
Let's talk about how it really works, Dave.
I don't know if you can get it out of there.
Oh, I can get it out of there, trust me. So I've got this now on my Pathfinder steering wheel.
There you go.
And it adapted so easy. All I did was put it on there and squish it. It comes with the 3M tape on the back.
Right.
And it works very, very well. This long piece is designed for your handrails, like on the side of the console.
Right.
But you can see how easily it just grips into your fingers. That's what I like about it. And you can trim it. It comes with also alcohol swabs so that you can clean the surface.
Yeah, you got to clean it before you put it on there. And they come in 12 and 8-inch.
And black as well as gray to go with silver or black.
Right, and they come in a pack of 3 in there.
Yes, sir.
So
one last thing.
Lastly, we've got the release ruler belts. Now they make a big release ruler, for all kinds of fish. But this is a belt that you can actually wear, and I've got several different models here. This is the Marlin model, and this is really cool. You're thinking, well, how can you use a 39-inch ruler to measure a marlin? Well, what this one is made to do is made to measure the stump of the blue or black marlin's tail. Because once a blue or black marlin's tail gets 20 inches, that means he's 1,000 pounds. And
so you would take this end and
right.
go around.
Right. Well, yeah. This is where you got the 20-inch thing. Once it gets this to this 1 inch to the 20-inch, that means that you've got a 20-inch stump. And that means a fish would weigh, that's a 1,000-pounder. Yeah.
Look at how excited you get about that.
I do.
That's almost criminal.
Yeah.
The way you get so excited. I haven't seen you get that excited.
And they got, it gets bigger. And they do them for all the different species. This one, this is a snook one, and this one here is one that's got snook, trout, and redfish markings on it. And then this one's just a largemouth bass one. And what's really great about it is not only do they have the length, you can say, oh, here's the length, but it has a pound marker as well. They have a scientific, gone to a bunch of scientific samplings, and a 22-inch bass is going to be around 6 pounds. A 23-inch bass is around 7 pounds. And it goes on and on like that. And they actually hold tournaments. The release ruler guys hold tournaments. They have a big snook tournament, and they had a big bass tournament a couple years ago. I came in 3rd place in it.
So Dave, obviously there's a big difference between my waist and your waist.
Yeah. Well, you just trim it off.
How does this work? So you trim all this pretty beautiful artwork.
Correct. If you trim it down to the point where you need it. You trim it down to the point where you need it, and then you just attach your belt buckle.
Oh, don't
pretty
like
quickly.
that?
Yeah, well, you know, it's to make it so it'll fit you.
Okay.
Because, you know, we're not all the same.
No.
That's
we are certainly not all the same, right, Brie?
No, we are not all the same. I'm different over here sitting on this dock, on this beautiful boat. I don't know about all of you, but all that shopping makes me want to go fishing. So, Captain Jeff Page, please help us out with that and tell us what's biting and where in the StarTron Central West region. What's up, Page?
Hey, you guys. I just got to say that new set is awesome. And it's so good to be back on the 2020 season of Florida Insider Fishing Report. We're talking Cobia tonight. And in the StarTron Central West region, we have no shortage of cobia. We have a year-round fishery, but some of our best fishing occurs right now in the early spring months of March, April, and May. And not only will we find cobia holding over wrecks and reefs in his water as shallow as 40 feet on out to deeper stuff in 110 to 120 feet, but we can also find them cruising along the beaches, especially on some of these slick, calm days that we've had lately. And it's not uncommon to see them in groups of 2 or 3, not like over on the East Coast where they're on raisebacks. They're just cruising, looking for bait fish. Some of the best baits that we use for cobia live are going to be a fin fish, one of your favorite, Ricks, and then big hand-picked pilchards, thread fins, jumbo shrimp, even grunts if you can get them. Some of the better artificial baits, I like a 3/4 ounce to 1.5 ounce bucktail jig, and I prefer them in a chartreuse white pattern or a light brown and white pattern. You can also use soft plastic rigs on a heavier, say, 1/2 ounce to 3/4 ounce jig head is the key. Something you can throw a long way, and it's going to get out in front of the fish and sink pretty quick. If the fish are holding in deeper areas where you may not see them on top, standard bottom rigs are going to work fine. Like I said, a lot of times you can be grouper or snapper fishing, and you're going to come up with a cobia on your line, or cobia are going to follow your grouper or snapper to the surface. All in all, the cobia fishing's going off the chain right now. I've got a photo tonight of a happy client with Captain Brian Marcy out of Sarasota, Florida. And my second offshore report is red grouper. Tonight was a toss-up between red grouper and permit. I went with the red grouper just because it's been so strong throughout the entire region, in as close as 90 feet of water, but it seems like the bigger fish are coming in 110 to 130. Frozen sardines are all you're gonna need, but you might as well bring some live pinfish, because you're going to get a red snappy, you're going to get a gag grouper, you might get a big co. Standard bottom rigs are going to work fine. 1/2 to 3 ounces of lead is going to get the job done. And I've got a photo tonight of the Flying Fish Fleet, try saying that 5 times, with Captain Tim Noe with a nice limit of red groupers.
All right, Paige, let's go inshore, Bubba.
Rolling inshore, species 1, redfish. Well, Rick, you know, with all the closures, going in our second year with everything being closed, that being trout, redfish, snook, I can only tell you the red fishing has improved 110%, and that's through the entire region. I get reports from Captain Danny Latham down south. East side of Charlotte Harbor has been really good using cut bait and live pilchards. And then Captain Billy Ahlstrom in the Manatee River area has been doing good on the higher stages of the tide around the mangrove shorelines and oyster bars. Live pilchards. The little trick he does is he cuts the tail off the pilchard so it doesn't swim away. If you like throwing lures, it's tough to beat the 1/4 ounce weedless gold spoon or a golden brim saltwater assassin jerk bait rigged on a 1/4 ounce silver head. And speaking of Captain Billy, got a redfish photo tonight of some happy clients that were fishing with him a couple days ago, and he's out of Bradenton. My last species up tonight, and this will probably be the last time I bring them up, is the sheephead. We had a late sheephead run, not starting till the middle of January, but then they got going strong. And just about any of the docks and rock piles around the inlets are gonna have sheephead. With the lack of rain, the water's been crystal clear. You're gonna see the fish holding on the docks. Live shrimp, or even a piece of live shrimp, or fiddler crabs if you can get them, on light 15-pound to 20-pound test fluorocarbon and a small number 1 or number 2 light wire eagle claw hook will get the job done. And my last photo tonight is a giant sheephead caught with Captain Will Osborne out of Cortez, Florida.
All right, Paige, great report. We appreciate you very much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the daiquiri deck hotspots, bub. Good job. So Paige says that inshore 18 to 22-inch speckled trout are hitting soft plastics like saltwater assassins, 4-inch shads in the violet moon pattern on the middle grounds of grass flats just inside New Pass. And then offshore, lots of cobia holding on the nearshore wrecks and reef and 60 to 100 feet of water off Anna Maria. What do you think, Brie?
I think that sounds good, but we've got your Bells, Southwest, and Keys region coming at you next, so be ready to reel. But first, we want to remind you that if you want to keep up with everything fishing in Florida, make sure to visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and follow and tag us in your pictures on Instagram. Also, if you miss a show or need a refresher on rigs and techniques again, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube page, Captain Rick Murphy, where you can see the show posted every Thursday amongst other fishing adventure videos. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by StarTron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. Alvy Reels, a better way to fish. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 30 years. Diamond Fishing Products, our reputation is on the line. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing, book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Strike Zone Fishing.
Finding a shoreline is easy. Finding a sure thing is not. For over 20 years, anglers from Kitty Hawk to California and every shore in between have come to know one thing: that nothing says no to fish bites. So just stop with the fishing and get busy with the catching. Ask for Fish Bites or Fish Bites Fight Club lures or visit fishbites.com.
Find Florida's soul and discover Crystal River. Explore warm Gulf waters, spring-fed rivers, bountiful lakes, and fantastic fishing. Dive into adventure and enjoy the only place in the world where you can swim with the manatees. Treat yourself and your family to outdoor fun, rich history, and a relaxed coastal lifestyle. Discover Crystal River, Florida.
Every year, Noble Air Charter flies over 20,000 outdoorsmen and families just like you economically to over 300 Bahamian and Florida destinations. Noble Air Charter makes a substantial investment improving booking and aircraft route planning to create the most affordable and economical flight possible. And tomorrow, Noble Air's team will rise to the challenge to raise the bar yet again.
Welcome back. Your captain from the Bells Southwest region is fired up and ready to start the season. So, Captain Houston, let us in on some of your secrets.
Well, I can tell you what, it's really great to be back representing the Bells Southwest region. What I'm really hyped up about this year is playing with some new products. You know, you got to thank those guys over at Power Pole. I just finally got the new Power Pole Charge. I'm combining it with a new trolling motor and some other products, so I'm really looking forward to putting in the time with some new product and letting everybody know out there how I truly feel about it. But you know what? The theme species is Cobia. You know, they can be targeted on the inshore and offshore side, but most common would be the offshore side. Now, Captain Corey McGuire to the north reports that the Cobia are starting to make their annual spring migration, and he tells me he always likes to keep a bucktail handy in case one shows up on top, typically while he's bottom fishing. But he really likes to target the Cobias using live pinfish on the bottom while fishing wrecks and ledges, but then also leaving a pinfish out the back, free line, just in case one comes to the top. Now, Captain Mike Avedon says to the south, generally June through February, most of the public reefs from Marco to Fort Myers Beach will hold fish all summer long. And then down to the south, my inshore guy, Captain Brian Sanders, tells me from the 10,000 Islands to the Everglades,
He generally targets nearshore wrecks using a variety of baits like pilchards, thread fins, artificial eels, bucktail jigs, chugging lures, and a variety of 6 to 9 inch swim baits. And I have a picture of a cobia that was just recently caught, given me by Captain Corey McGuire, up in the northern end of the region. Now, still on the offshore side, the red groupers. Captain Mike Avedon from Marco Island has been telling me right now from Marco Island to Fort Myers Beach, you want to concentrate right now in depths from 100 to 120 feet. Now, he reports plenty of red grouper, but he's trying to explain that some guys are getting mixed reports on the bite. On the light tides, the fish have been lazy, also due to the cooler water. So he's telling me patience is important. If you're marking fish and you're using cuff baits and having trouble getting to the bite, maybe the next time you go out, have some live pilchards or live pinfish with you. That way you can chum those out and hopefully get the bite going. But he's telling me definitely on the stronger tides, cut baits like herring, squid, and sardines should get the job done. I have a nice photo of some red groupers that were just recently caught by Captain Mike Avedon down in the southern end. Now on the inshore side, you know, winter's just about over. We're getting into April, and it's been warming up a lot in the last several weeks. Snook fishing has been good and continues to get better, and really just started going off according to Captain Brian Sanders down in the Everglades region. He's been fishing the outer Gulf Islands with moderate weather. Tide really doesn't matter as long as you have good moving water. His key baits are live pilchers and thread fins are really his key baits. But I've been doing a lot of fishing in the 10,000 Island region and really up to the north, Old Turtle Bay and the Charlotte Harbor area using strictly artificials. Now to the south, top water walk the dog lures in bone, chartreuse, and olive, as well as silver spoons. But you know what? To the north, it's a little bit trickier. That water up there is drinking water clear. So if you find these fish, you're going to have patience. Don't chase them on the trolling motor. Anchor up or power pull down and fan cast the potholes that seem to have the deeper depressions in them. Now for me, darker colored baits have been working like the Bass Assassin 5-inch shads and golden brim and watermelon red on a Trocar 5-0 screw lock TK170 with 1/8 ounce of weight. Also gold spoons fan casted in those areas and 3 to 4 inch white switch baits. And I have a couple pictures here. One of Captain Brian Sanders down to the south with a nice oversized snook. And a real funny picture here. You know, I've been combining two products together. I've been combining the Power Pole Charge and the new Rodan 36-volt, 120-pound thrust trolling motor. Now, that picture, I started snook fishing about midnight, fishing the Charlotte Harbor bridges, and then into dawn, and then dark to the next day. So that's like 15 to 17 hours of fishing, not having to worry about charging my batteries. So the Power Pole Charge will manage them and also show you how they're charging. So I'm looking forward to seeing how these products treat me in the next few months. The last species is going to be the trout. Captain Corey McGuire up in the north says, you know what, the trout fishing has been great in North Pine Island Sound, Bull, and Turtle Bay, but he's concentrating his efforts right now in 3 to 5 foot of water with grass, but you got to have good tidal flow. He's using live pelchers or white paddle tails on 1/8 ounce to 1/4 ounce jigs. Looking forward to a new season, working with these products and letting the viewer know how we really feel about running these products.
So, Ronnie, I got a couple questions for you. The first question is, you mentioned a silver spoon. How do you like to typically work that spoon, bub? Some guys twitch them, some guys reel them back. Tell me how you like it, Midnight.
Well, I generally put a double barrel swivel on the front, and I fan cast that in a variety of ways, but I also try a few different methods. You know, you could bounce it off the bottom on sand and not get caught up in the grass and catch fish, or you got to continuously move it over the grass, let it drop in a pothole, and it'll bring it out. So depending upon what I figure out, it's how I vary my retrieves by using the silver spoon.
So I'm going to give you another little secret about your trolling motor, Ronnie. Obviously, the charge keeps your batteries charged as you're running from spot to spot, but the Rodan only uses a 50 amp fuse. So most of the time, you're burning less than 40 amps or between 40 and 50 amps. All the competitors run a 60 amp fuse, which burns a lot more voltage in that mid-range to high. So that's one of the reasons why your batteries are lasting a lot longer as well. So keep that in mind. That Rodan really gets the job done, right?
We'll see you together this year, my friend.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much. Great report from the Bell Southwest region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Caddy Can hotspots. Ronnie says that inshore redfish, Brush Key to Jack Daniels Key, the last half of the incoming to the first half of the outgoing at the outer Gulf Islands using cut shrimp on an Ocker rig. And then offshore, Mangrove Snapper, Fort Myers Beach to Stump Pass, 60 to 90 foot of water. Fish the wrecks and ledges, chumming heavily. Also free line whitebait, which is simply a pilchard, and cut sardines is going to work the best for those mangoes.
All right, Rick. Well, if you want cobia, I will meet you in the Keys to go get them, and Captain Randy Tao is going to give us the deets. Good to have you back, Randy.
Hey, great to be back. Good evening, fish fans. You know, when we talk about cobia fishing, we catch them throughout the Keys, from the upper Keys all the way to the Tortugas, and we catch them on the Atlantic, and we catch them in the Bay and the Gulf side. So it really depends where you're fishing from and how you want to target them. Now, the upper Keys, a lot of the guys with the tower boats, they will drive around and they'll look in the sand, the white sand, for stingrays, and these cobias will be on top of stingrays that are getting crabs and stuff from the bottom. And you're going to find the ray, you're going to find the cobia, and you want to throw a knocker rig with a grunt or a pinfish or a pilchard with an egg sinker on it to get down to them. Once you get one on, a lot of times it's like dolphin fishing. There's multiple fish with the one you have on, and you can catch 2 or 3 or 4, and sometimes more. That's one way we do it. Another way that's real popular is wreck fishing. A lot of structure holds these cobias at certain times. Now, you might pull up to a wreck and they're on the surface, or you might have to drop down to them and catch them off the bottom. One of the cool things that I enjoy doing is going out to the Gulf, and especially in the lower Keys and Key West, where the wrecks in the Gulf are really known to be very good cobia spots. And a lot of times these fish are schooled up, especially this time of year. Springtime is a great time for the cobias to be down off of Key West. And again, you're still going to throw a crab, maybe a pinfish, but some of that fishing can be sight fishing, and the water's a little off color, so you're not going to see the bottom, but you'll certainly see them up near the surface. Now, I've got a photo of an awesome cobia the Pink Lady caught while fishing in the backcountry.
Oh, man, that is a nice big fish there, bub. All right, what else you got?
You know, blackfin tuna, again, we fish differently in the upper Keys for blackfin tuna than they do down in Key West. Up here, we usually go offshore to the humps, and right now, we're just getting into dolphin season where guys are going offshore looking for dolphin, and also, you got to pass the humps. So a lot of guys want to get dinner over with. They'll troll some worms, some feathers, and they'll try to catch some tunas for dinner. And if you want to target the bigger ones, you're going to need a well full of live pilchards, and you're going to want to chum for them to get those bigger 20, 30 pounders up. Now, as you go down to the lower Keys in Key West, they like to fish for them behind the shrimp boats. And when you find a shrimp boat cleaning their catch, a lot of these tunas will be chummed up already from their trash that they're throwing overboard, and guys will anchor down and they'll fish for them with light tackle or even fly rods. Now, a guy that does it really well is Captain Chris Trossett with Real Fly Charters out of Key West. He is one of the best at catching tunas on light tackle, whether it be a fly rod, a spinning rod, and I've got a photo of his angles doubled up on some tunas they were catching behind the shrimp boat.
Looking good. Look,
Nice.
they're not having
They look
fun.
happy.
They're not having fun. All right, bub, what else you got for me?
The permit this time of year can be really good. Now, again, we're really lucky, you know, with the Keys down here to have an Atlantic fishery and a Gulf fishery. And you can find these permits schooled up on the oceanside wrecks right now. Not uncommon to find schools of 50 or more fish, and they could be in 100 feet of water. Now, these fish on the calmer days will get up near the surface, and you're going to look for them flashing. We call it mooning, and it'll look like somebody hit a mirror in the sun, and you'll see a flash in the water, and that's the permit school. As they turn their body and the light reflects off of it, you can see them flashing or mooning. That's one way you find them. A live crab in front of them is really going to be the best way to go. Now, they also like structure, so if you're on the Gulf side or around some of the bridges, you can find these permit as well. The stronger tides, like the new moon tides, the full moon tides, where you have that water level really high and really low, where there's a lot of water moving, that's kind of the time you're going to find these permit in these areas, and you'll find them up on some of the corally rocky flats as well for the guys in the lower Keys that love to pole and sight cast to them. I've got a photo of Captain Donnie Bempo with Skins and Fins Charters right here in Isla Mirada with his angler Alicia Bassett from Boca Raton with her first permit.
Nice, nice.
You go, girl.
All right, one more to go, bub. What you got? Little Punich?
You know it, Rick. I mean, it's 90 degrees. It's calm. It's almost April. Guess what? Tarpon have shown up. They have come to town. They're around the bridges. They're in the backcountry. They are pretty much anywhere you want to go to find one, and they're big. Captain Randy Stallings, he's a local guide out of the Lorelei. He's been on them the last couple of days. They caught 3 fish yesterday, over 140 pounds. He taped them out. I think he had a 141, a 146, and another one on fly rod, and he said he wasn't too far from home. So really strong reports on the tarpon the last few days. There's plenty of bait around if you want to use live mullet. If you want to get crabs, local tackle shops have plenty of crabs. And get around those bridges, start drifting around, or go pulling around in the backcountry in some of those shallow spots. There's some real nice fish right now.
All right, Randy, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Sunset Inn hotspots from the Florida Keys region. Randy says that inshore, hey, the tarpon look around all the bridges, fish live mullet under a cork. It's probably the best bet. You want to try to look at Long Key, Channel 5, and Channel 2 is where it's going to be happening. And then offshore, blackfin tunas fish the offshore humps with live bait for the big ones, or troll small dark feathers for dinner size tunas.
My humps. Oh,
Yeah,
you know I was
maybe
going to go there. Stay
humps.
hooked
Go
for a little
ahead.
longer because we're headed to the Fish Bites East region next. We'll be right back. My lovely lady.
Go ahead.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. The Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. The IGFA. Fish for the world. Sportsman's Adventures. Fishing for adventure. And Bells. Everything you need to live life local.
When you live on an island, surrounded by warm, clear water, and a million ways to enjoy it, it's amazing you'll ever have time to come up for air. Key West. Close to perfect, far from normal.
Now's the time to make your front lawn feel more like a welcome mat. The new Z200 is built to cut like a pro, to cut quickly, to turn on a dime, to control with effortless precision. Kubota quality, affordable price. The new Kubota Z200. Right now, get the Kubota Z200 mower for 0 down and 0% APR for 48 months.
Florida Coast Equipment, Florida's largest Kubota dealer.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
Have you ever felt your heart pounding while feeling the power of a tarpon in the Florida Keys? Or experienced the changing colors of a mahi as you bring it on board? Whether it's in the Bahamas, the Florida Keys, Guatemala, or the Florida Everglades, Murphy's Law Sports Fishing has the ability to guide you to the fish of a lifetime. To book your trip today, call 305-246-0673 or go to murphyslawsportfishing.com.
Today's Power Pull tip is about the new Power Pull Charge power management station. The cool thing about the Charge is it replaces 3 systems on your boat. It replaces your traditional 3 or 4 bank battery charger, so when you're at the house, you plug it into the wall. The Power Pull Charge is going to optimize and balance your batteries like nothing ever out there. It also replaces your on-the-run charger, so anytime you've got the Yamaha running, it's going to replace the power in your trolling motor batteries and your cranking batteries all day while you're running from spot to spot. And the third thing it does, it's got an emergency start feature in it. So if you're ever out there and your cranking battery dies and you can't get the motor started, go to the Sea Monster app, transfer the power, and you're good to go. Get back to the dock. For any more information about the PowerPole Charge, you can go to powerpole.com or stop by one of your local dealers. That's your PowerPole tip.
All right, guys, last but not least, we're dropping a line in the Fish Bites East region where Captain Mike Holliday says to catch a cobia, find your stingrays near the beach or sharks offshore. Give us more to the story, Mike.
Yeah, you know, that's pretty much what it is, Brie. We're on the tail end of the cobia bite, which typically runs from Valentine's Day to about the end of March. But there is still some fish in the area. Most of the cobia we find in April will be piggybacking either on large stingrays or on sharks. The stingrays will be in on the beach in less than 35 feet of water, particularly in Palm Beach County. The sharks will likely be either on the reefs and wrecks, or they'll be offshore in more than 80 feet of water. If you're going to go offshore, anytime right now, you want to rig a spinning rod with a chartreuse, 1 to 2 ounce R&R cobia jig, or a saltwater assassin dye dapper with a 1 ounce jig head on it. Just have it ready so you can immediately grab the rod and cast to any fish that pop up around the boat. A lot of cobia that are on those sharks just kind of come out of nowhere when you're reeling in another species of fish and that shark just pops up to eat it. So you got to be ready or you won't get in on the bite. Average cobia is going to be 10 to 30 pounds. I got a photo there. That's Jim Fuller and Jeff Hooser with a nice cobia they caught off a shark. They were fishing with Captain Jonathan Earhart of Chaos Fishing Adventures, and that fish ate a chartreuse colored jig. Now, the best blue water bite going is the snapper bite in 80 to 100 feet of water off Palm Beach County. It's a mixed bag of snapper species. The majority of the fish are mutton and yellowtail snapper. There's a few mangroves in the mix as well. There's also lane snapper in the mix. Just set up along the reef line, make a drift, bounce in a live pilchard, a frozen sardine, a cigar minnow, or a chunk of bonita or squid on the bottom. Now, sharks have been really bad. So you want to ramp up your tackle to 40 to 60 pound gear with a 50 pound fluorocarbon leader and a 5.0 trocar non-offset circle hook. And the second you hook up, you want to crank that fish, get it in the boat as quickly as possible so the sharks can't steal it. The average yellowtail snapper is going to be 1 to 2 pounds, while the average mutton is going to be 4 to 10 pounds. Average mangrove is going to be about 3 pounds.
All right, what else you got for me, Hollywood, in short?
Well, you know, the spring run of pompanos in full swing throughout the region. Fish are being caught at places like the Double Roads in Juneau Beach, in Hope Sound Beach, Tiger Shores and Blue Heron beaches. All those spots are good. Springtime is when the pompano push in closer to shore, so you don't have to have those 14-foot rods and make the super long cast to catch fish. You can have a short rod and just be out there in a trough and do pretty well. There's also a lot of fish around the inlets on the incoming tides. You want to target the pompano with frozen sand fleas or clams or shrimp or a Fish Bites Easy Fleet. I like to use a sand fleet and a strip of yellow-colored Fish Bites crab. So if the sand fleet comes off, you still have that bait on the hook there catching the pompano for you. You can also fish a yellow or pink pompano jig with a matching Fish Bites strip on it. Just match the color so it doesn't look weird. Average pompano right now is going to be less than 2 pounds, but they're catching them up to about 5 pounds. This is also the time of the year when the sea trout start their spawn. So we'll see a lot of big fish up in the shallows trying to beef up on their flat supplies. At the same time, the shrimp are running on the outgoing tides. Mullet, sand perch, and pinfish are starting to school on the flats. So you kind of have this perfect storm of food in places like the Northbridge Flats, Bear Point, Midway Road, and the flats and spoil islands around Harbor Branch. The bite's been early, except on the overcast days. On those days it'll go all day. Start your morning throwing topwater plugs or large soft plastics like a saltwater assassin, 6 or 7 inch shad in the drunk monkey, Houdini, or Mama's 14K colors. In the middle of the day, you can switch over to a live shrimp, a sand perch, or a pinfish under a rattling cork. Average sea trout is 2 to 4 pounds with fish to 9 pounds. And I have a photo there. That's Bob and Luke Ritter. They caught that nice sea trout on a topwater plug. They were wade fishing the Indian River with Jason Arman of That's Our Man Land-Based Fishing Charters.
All right, Hollywood. Every week we got to talk about some bass fishing. What do you got for me this week?
Well, the bass bite on Lake Okeechobee is outstanding, with anglers catching 25 to 40 fish a day on a half-day trip. I was talking to Capt. Scott Martin of Clewiston. He said start your day chasing the shad spawn around Observation Island and the Shoal and Uncle Joe's. Just look for the diving birds out there around the island. The water level on Okeechobee is at 12.2 feet, so it's starting to get low, and low enough that you want to shut down in the deeper areas and then fish your way into the shallow grass. You can throw white spinner baits, topwater plugs, or a white bass assassin shad. If big fish are what you're after, you want to fish the outside reed lines, either there around Observation Shoal or Observation Island, and Cochran's Pass is another good option. Cast a fat job or jingle bug on the shady side of the reeds. If the water's clear, you want to go with June bug. If it's dirty, watermelon red glitter is the way to go right now. That fat job's killing them. The average bass is 1 to 3 pounds with fish to 8 pounds. So the weather's heating up just like the bass fishing on the big lake.
Well, you killed it in the Fish Bites region this week. Thank you so much. We're going to take a look at the TH Marine hotspots from the East region. Mike says, get it done inshore, snook on the docks and the seawalls of the Lockahachie River at first light. Live mullet, saltwater assassin, dapper, and topwater plugs is going to work well for those. Offshore, schooling kingfish in 85 to 120 feet of water from the Juneau Pier to just north of the Juneau Inlet. Live thread fins, pilchards, sardines, and blue runners going to work for those kingfish.
Jupiter. All right, the reports are in, and there's Cobia to be caught, but stay with us a little longer to see what we're hooking up to next week on the
Florida
Insider
Fishing
Report.
All right.
Teamwork.
You got it.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. The Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. The IGFA. Fish for the world. Sportsman's Adventures. Fishing for adventure. And Bells. Everything you need to live life local.
When you live on an island, surrounded by warm, clear water, and a million ways to enjoy it, it's amazing you'll ever have time to come up for air. Key West. Close to perfect, far from normal.
Life beyond the gravitational pull of the city requires a can-do attitude. It takes versatility to accomplish all that needs to be done, and enough power to never get in over your head. The Kubota L-Series tractor pulls up its bootstraps, hooks up to its many attachments, and gets the job done right. That's why it's the #1 selling compact tractor in America.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
Have you ever felt your heart pounding while feeling the power of a tarpon in the Florida Keys? Or experienced the changing colors of a mahi as you bring it on board? Whether it's in the Bahamas, the Florida Keys, Guatemala, or the Florida Everglades, Murphy's Law Sport.
All right, guys, make sure to tune in next week because we are tucking a boat. The trout.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh,
yes. Well, it's our first show. I think we did a pretty decent job. What do you think, gentlemen? We did good. All right, well.
We're looking good anyway.
Yes, we are.
What's the
We're
basket?
Bell's Real
What's the
Legends.
basket?
What do you
What's in
mean
the basket?
All right, gentlemen, before we say
What's in the
goodbye,
basket?
I have here this giveaway bucket, not a basket, full of everything you'll need to sit back, relax, and watch the show. To win, all you need to do is go to the Captain Rick Murphy YouTube page, subscribe, like this episode, and comment your favorite catch. Thank you for tuning in this week. We'll see you next week for Trout.
Put the
Stay
lotion in
healthy.
the basket.
Be
Thanks
safe.
for watching.